Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode. This was a pretty crazy week, man. And you're raising your hand. That's hilarious.
I meant to do this. See?
So Tim is back, everyone. We can see him again. I like your background. Very
Isn't that
nice.
cool? Well, it'll change when it gets closer to winter, but right now it's fall, guys. Officially fall. Summer's over.
Yeah, tell me about it, man. Tell me about it. Okay, so look,
Got hot
basically,
topics to talk about.
yeah, we got a lot. We like really, guys. Like there was a lot that happened. So I'm not going to go in the order necessarily that we put. I think we'll just talk about like some of the stuff that occurred during the week, and we'll go from there. So you guys know that Sony had their like Sony's had a really weird time over the last couple of months. We had the Concord debacle there where it got shut down like 14, 16 days after it was released. Then Astrobot comes out and everyone's like, "Oh my god, best game ever." Like tons of great PR. Then they announced the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5 Pro, and $700, 5,000 Canadian. People lose their minds. Like it's been up and down like crazy. However, I I was talking to you about this because I was like, oh man, this is so clear. Because then they announced the 30th anniversary edition of the PlayStation, and it was so clear. They didn't announce any prices. They're like, oh, it's going to be available to pre-order on the exact same day as the PS5 Pro. And I was like, oh, here we go. So this was the up and down. And then the internet exploded. Everybody's like, oh my God, it looks amazing, including myself. Like I was like, oh my God, like that looks awesome. Like I would love, like as a guy who basically was working when the PlayStation 1 was out and used my own money to buy this. Like it was one of the first consoles that I did that, that I was old enough to like purchase it myself. I was like, man, I would love to buy one of these. So I asked Tim, and I put jokes in the in the notes. But I asked Tim and I asked Cranberry, who I play Dragon Quest X with. I was like, look, guys, if you're around, because in the States they said follow this link and like you'll be good to go. But they didn't say the time. They didn't say like pricing or anything like that. Anyway, so Cran finds out really late, like the night before, that it's going to be 7 a.m. your time. Okay. And so she gets up a little bit early, gets in queue, and she's already. It's like, oh, you're before you can get into the store, you're gonna have to wait like half an hour, something like that.
That's why I joked with you, man. Like, you do know there's no chance.
Yeah,
Those scalpers are.
here's the crazy part. Okay, you ready for this? I was one of them that not logged in, but like went to the site. I got through. I actually got through.
Really?
Yeah, but I can't sign in because my PlayStation Network account is locked to a Canadian account. So there's nothing I could do. But I laugh because how broken is that? You know what I mean? And anyway, it was just a total disaster, as it always is. It's just really sad because one company that got it really close to perfect was Valve. When Valve put up, I don't know if you remember this, when they put up the Steam Deck, only people who had a Steam account that was like, I'm making this up, guys, I don't remember the details, but it was like your Steam account had to have had either a number of years or a number of hours that were logged into it, or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was, but when you do that, you immediately cut out all the bots, because bots, you can't, there's nothing they can do. They can't just. And I thought Sony was going to do something similar with having it tied to your PlayStation Network account. But no. So you could just create a PlayStation Network account, which the bots do, and then buy up as much as you want. And it's just like, oh, come on, guys. With Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo, do you know how easy it would be, especially with Microsoft and Sony? It would be so easy because they've had the same logins for like 15 years now or whatever. All you would have to do, if you really want these special things to be for fans, is do the same thing. Like, cap out. If you haven't played more than like 100 hours, you can't, that's it. You know, like you can't do it. Or your account has to be a certain age. Just something, you know, something like that. So anyway, needless to say, it was a total shit show. They're now on eBay for 10 grand. They're selling out on eBay at 10 grand. People are actually paying. And this is why, guys. Like, this is why this will never stop. And it always pisses me off, this kind of stuff, because there are genuinely some awesome things that have been released, like The Last of Us. I don't know if you remember that on PS3. They did like this awesome diorama thing. No one got that. Literally nobody got that because it sold out to scalpers and they put it online. And so anyway, that was really sad. I really didn't care so much about Jarrod. Like, I knew that was going to be impossible, but it was more, I just hate seeing situations like that. Like, I've always hated that. Anyway, in Canada, the bundle hasn't even been released. So here, because we don't have the PlayStation Direct store, which that in and of itself makes no sense, but whatever, GameStop is going to be the exclusive distributor of that bundle. And what they posted on Twitter or X or whatever is that they're basically, they want to ensure only gamers get access to it. Now, again, though, what does that mean, right? Because GameStop doesn't have access to our PSN accounts and all that kind of crap. So I'm going to pay attention, but I'm only going to pay attention. I'm not, you know, like, if it's something like, oh, first come, first serve, sleep outside, like, yeah, okay, I'm in my 40s, guys. Like, that's not going to happen. But still, any comment on that whole thing? I mean, you knew it, I knew it.
Yeah, and it's kind of sad, the whole scalp. That's something they can't address, right? Because technically, first come, first serve, right? The only way you can combat it is, and it's just kind of like the whole mobile gotcha thing, you know, where people continuously buy into these loot boxes, which are complete utter rip-off. The only way you could combat these people who buy these things and sell them for 10 grand on eBay is just people have to stop buying it, where then there's no demand. They then have to lower their price. But realistically, people are buying it. So it's a universal dilemma.
Yeah, what do you think about what I just said, though? About like with what Valve did? Like, that
yeah,
worked.
I like that. I like that idea, but I don't think they're going to do it, though. Because you have to remember, this is, Sony and Nintendo, they don't really put much effort into their...
No,
they don't, and they don't
yeah.
care. As long as their stuff sells, that's all they care about. And, they're big corporate. Well, Valve is technically a public community. It's a big company, too, but it's public. I'm not public, sorry. It's private, so it's a little bit different. They control their own destiny rather than executives in suits and stuff like that, or investors. So I would love them to do something like Valve, but realistically, I don't see that happening.
Well,
especially with Nintendo.
Yeah, no. Like, let's be honest, like, they didn't, right? But I'll never forget that.
I do love the idea, though. Yeah.
What Valve did, like, when I got my Steam Deck, I'll never forget that. Like, there were criteria, then you had to submit, and then it wasn't a person.
Yeah, I love it.
Like, the system reviewed your profile, and then if you were deemed okay, you got emailed a link to go and download it, and then they followed you. So,
I like that, yeah.
So if I would have sold mine and it came back, you could have been permanently banned from Steam.
Ooh, that's a bit harsh, right? But
it's not harsh. It's like they're like, guys, we want you to play this. We're not doing this so you make money. That's not that's not the thing. And by the way, these ice caps are awesome. Just it's an iced coffee sort of thing. It's really good.
Yeah, I love that idea, Steve. I wish Nintendo and Sony would, because it would reward their more true, quote unquote, true fans, or people who've had profiles for a long time. Because like you and I have had
forever.
Years now, right?
Yeah, forever.
So
man.
I love that idea. I don't know why it's kind of not industry standard to beat these scalpers, but at the end of the day, like I said, Nintendo and Sony don't care.
No, they don't.
It gets sold. They don't care.
Exactly. No, 100%, man. It's just like I always find it so funny because goodwill. It's as if these companies have no idea what goodwill is, and it's hilarious. Like there is a monetary, there's a monetary sort of like component to that. Like literally in business, there's something called goodwill that when you buy a company, you're purchasing part of the sale is that goodwill. And it's just so funny with these companies where I sit there and I'm like, it's so easy to do. It takes like no effort at all. Anyway, so that was that. The other thing that happened literally like 2 days before, and we're not going to go into the full thing, was Sony's State of Play. Tim and I, like, we were chatting about this before. How, like, I don't know what you guys think. I like, so just to lay the groundwork, I own all 3 consoles. I have a gaming PC. It's starting to get a little long in the tooth there now, my PC, but it's just so expensive, man, to upgrade them. It's like, oof, I'm gonna hold on to this until it explodes because it's too expensive now, the graphics cards and stuff. But I say this because, like, you know, everybody accuses everybody of being fanboys about everything. For me, a good game is a good game is a good game. You know, like, I played this year less Xbox, and to be honest, I think it's a trend that's been happening only because there wasn't much that like really appealed to me. I really enjoyed Hellblade 2 this year. That was excellent if you're into action games. I did a lot of my gaming on the PS5 this year. I did stuff like Fallout 76, played a lot on my Steam Deck and on my PC. And Switch, that too. It's slowly coming to an end now because it's coming to the end of its life.
Oh, but there's still a lot of gems though.
There are.
We'll be talking about in a bit,
yeah,
right?
for sure. I'm just laying the groundwork. So you could call me a Sony fanboy. You can call me whatever you want.
You always have been, buddy. Just kidding.
But what's interesting is, like, when I go and, like, when Tim and I were talking about this, like, they're so bad. Like, the State of Play or whatever the hell they're called, they're like Sony's version of, like, the Nintendo Direct. I don't know if I've ever walked away from them and been like, dude, that was dope. Like, I don't think that's ever happened. And it boggles my mind how that's even possible. Like, when you have that much money, you know what I mean? And you can hire like the best of the best marketing firms and stuff. I don't understand. I just don't understand. So we're not going to go through, well, unless you want to, but like for me, there's really no point in going through the State of Play. It was a lot of smaller games. The biggest news, I think, is that Monster Hunter 3, they announced the February 28th release date. Although when I watched the trailer, it did not look smooth at all. Was that just me or?
Oh, no, you're not just, that was Wilds, by the way, not Monster Hunter.
Sorry. Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. And guys, I don't know if you guys followed the console release and PC, even on PC with high-end PCs, Dragon's Dogma 2 released, and it had very unoptimized. So Capcom seems a little bit coding challenged or optimization challenged. I don't know if it's their engine's just old and they need to ditch it, or they're just rushing games out. And it's going to be a concern because their last couple of releases have been pretty bad in sense of performance, not in sense of games itself, but in that, like Dragon's Dogma 2, it would literally not load stuff in, or when you go in the cities, it would literally be a slideshow, or it would take a long time to process it, stuff like that on optimization. And, you know, consoles used to be, I mean, PC folks have been kind of used to that for years because PCs, you know, would always kind of like release it now, fix it later. Consoles used to be different because back in the day, you go gold and that was it.
Yep.
You wouldn't have like any way to patch these games. And now it's like the consoles are kind of like PCs. It's like, or even PC releases can be kind of really good. But anyways, yeah, I don't know if I like that. And I think some people are getting tired of it. But if you go on Steam, Dragon Dogma's 2's reviews are pretty bad because of it. So yeah, I don't know. So I'm going to hold my breath there about that, Jared. I think Wild is going to be pretty optimized and pretty bad. Maybe it's because this Unreal RE engine's just too old. Who knows? Maybe it just can't handle the modern graphics. I don't know. When you start using your own proprietary engine, there's some good benefits. You control it and everything. You don't have to pay licensing fees. But be honest, they should just kind of do industry standards and just use Unreal. But
yeah, it's just, I don't know. Excuse me. I just thought it was weird.
But yeah, I noticed it too. Does that mean
okay.
it's going to be unoptimized? We'll have to wait and see. I mean, it's still a fair amount away, 5 months away or so. So you have plenty of time to optimize. But not Resident Evil, Capcom's recent track record releases have been kind of pretty shaky at launch. So we'll see. What do you think, Jared? Is it going to be a horrible experience at first?
No,
Remember, this is the first time it's going to be open world too.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't overly like. I mean, I'm sure it's going to sell billions of copies. It's going to be super fun and all that. But I was just surprised. Like, it looked a little janky when they were
it
were
does.
going, and I was just like, is that me or like? But yeah, so I mean, there was, like I said, there was a bunch of other games that they showed. Dragon Age, they showed. Have you ever been a fan of that?
Oh, dude, I love Dragon Age 1 was one of my favorite RPGs of all times. It's up there with Knights of the Old Republic. And I will be getting the next one. I actually have two, third one yet. The third one is supposed to be really good. So I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, Dragon's Age was awesome. The whole Fade thing being kind of like what they hinted towards it. And now I hear they're going to hopefully be focusing. They kind of went away from that. Part 2, you had some of the things that tied into part 1. Yeah, it was it's a great series.
I know nothing of it. That's why I'm asking.
Wow, are you serious?
Yeah, that
was back when BioWare was at its peak, dude.
But never had an opportunity to really go through that. It's just as like they showed like an extended sort of like demo battling a dragon.
I hope it's gonna be great. Yeah,
but it looked, and that's the thing. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. I found it generic as hell. Like
really?
Well, just it didn't look like I said. I don't know what the hell it is with Sony and these things, but I always feel like I was literally sitting there and I'm like, oh my gosh, like guys, are you gonna show like anything interesting? I'm like, don't get me wrong. Some of the smaller titles looked okay, like, whatever. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. And then they come on and they're, talking about like Horizon, the first Horizon, what was it? Zero Dawn. And they're like, we're remaking Horizon. I'm like, yay. Okay. The only saving grace to that, like seriously, and Ahmed and I were chatting with each other during it, and I was just like, God, like, I don't care. The only saving grace is that if you already own it or have purchased it or any of that, like got it from the PlayStation Network for free or whatever, for $10 you'll get the upgrade.
Okay.
So that's not terrible, but again, I gotta ask this: why? Like, I don't understand. Like, well, I do understand. Okay, I understand. It's because these games cost hundreds of millions of dollars now, so they want to continue to dip back into that well. And if gamers are willing to pay for those, for it, then giddy up. But they're such douchebags because as soon as that announcement is made, they doubled the price of the original game on the PlayStation Store. And I'm just like, come on, guys. Like, because now, and if you're going to buy it, it's like, are you really going to spend $40-$50 for the original or just wait for the remaster? And I just don't get why they're putting resources into this crap. Again, I know what I'm saying. I'm contradicting myself. I know, because I actually do know why. It's because they're trying to make money. But it's annoying. I don't like this practice at all. They're doing it with Until Dawn as well. And it's come on. I think probably the best news that came from that was another remaster.
Yeah.
But wait. So this is the difference for me. Okay. The remaster that got me all excited was Lunar. So Lunar 1 and 2 are being remastered. Now that's different, because there hasn't been a remaster of Lunar now in a long time. Like a long time. So getting that with 4K resolution and stuff, okay, that sure. And it's like, if you wanted to remake, for example, Uncharted 1, 2, and 3. Okay, sure. That's PlayStation 3. We're PlayStation 5. 2 generations. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Whatever. But to remake games that came out on the PlayStation 4, I don't get it, dude. I don't get it. And look at
it's too soon, man.
Look at The Last of Us. Last of Us was like the swan song for the PlayStation 3. It got remastered on the PlayStation 4 and then remade on the PlayStation 5. Come on, guys. Come on. This is utterly ridiculous that they keep doing this. So here I am. I'm literally like this. Okay, I'm bored out of my mind as this thing's going on. Then Mark Cerny comes out with, he looks so much like Dana Carvey, it's crazy. Wayne's World. And
dude, they never did make another one, did they?
No, they didn't. Anyway, so then he comes out and he's talking about PS5 Pro, and they do a little montage video. And he's like, oh, we're going to announce other games. And I think it's in the sizzle reel, there was probably 1 or 2 games that they hadn't talked about before. But again, I'm like, whoop-de-doo! Because I have no intention of going back and playing games I already played. It was like the PS4 Pro and the, what the hell was it called? The Xbox One X. It was like that crap where I was like, okay, guys, would you stop showing old games? Show new games that are going to be optimized on your, on your new hardware.
Exactly. 100%.
And excite me, and away we go. They did such a better job with the PS4 Pro, even though the PS4 Pro I found was useless. It wasn't really needed at all. At least marketing-wise, they did a much better job of showing you new games. And guys, here's an industry. I'll give you some business advice. If you want to sell PS5 Pros up the yin-yang, show Grand Theft Auto 6 running at 4K or whatever. Just show it running better than the original one. You will sell systems. You will sell a buttload of systems.
I hope that, thinking of it, I hope you get Grand Theft Auto 6. I'm going to be getting it.
Yeah.
And it'd be kind of cool to play some multiplayer, but I know you, Jared. Actually, we did play Fallout 76 together. That was kind of cool. You never did upload a lot of those sessions.
All those sessions, dude, we had 2. So
hey, we could have had more, but you flaked.
Anyway, so I'm about to unplug. Seriously, I was literally just sitting there okay, this is getting ridiculous now. It was okay. It wasn't, it just, that's my thing. It was just it was okay. Sort of like how I felt with Visions of Mana. Everyone online was oh my God, the best Mana game ever. And for me, it was yeah, I mean, it's okay. It was okay. It's a 6.5, 7, whatever. I mean, it's not bad. It's just, it didn't wow me. So that was
Do you think that affected the sales or not?
I think the series is gone. I just don't think anyone cares anymore.
Okay.
Personally, that's my, anyway, so it's coming to an end, and there's one last game, and I know when you see the PS, logo, I was like, okay, so your brain has like half a second before it's going to put together like what you're seeing. And going into it, for me anyway, I was like, we're gonna see Ghost of Tsushima 2. I'm pretty sure, because this was basically Sony's Tokyo Game Show like conference, except not a conference. And so starts, and you see like, there's you can tell it's Japan, like where like what you're seeing, and I was like, okay, boom, I told you. So, dude, as a PC gamer, you should be excited for this, man. This is going to be freaking awesome. So they show the trailer, and it's actually Ghost of Yote. And Yote is just another section. It takes place 300 years after the first one, and it's an entirely new protagonist. And I'm okay with that. To be honest, like, I'm really okay. I know a lot of people online after, like, oh my god, again, woke, it's a woman, and I was just like, okay, like, guys, no offense to, I think his name was Jin in the original. He himself was okay as a character. It was the world that he was in and his struggle to get revenge over like what had happened and all of this that made it amazing. And the concept here is that Sucker Punch was like, well, what if we just followed the story of the ghost? And that's what he was referred to as, because they didn't know who was doing this sort of revolt and stuff like that. And they were like, what if we followed that instead of the actual person? And to me, I'm like, yeah, man, I'm down for that. If you're able to recapture sort of that essence, of, because the way it is, it's like superhero movies. There's a reason people love origin stories more than being, because it's cool to see how you became, not just are type of thing. The only problem with Hollywood is like, okay guys, like Superman, we got it. Like we know how Superman became Superman, right? But I think this gives them almost like a complete clean slate to do something completely different now, and I'm actually okay with that.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
So,
and then
are you interested in this at all?
Well, I probably, God, I have so many different games, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it'll go on my wish list. You know me, I never play for single player games. Extremely rare do I ever play full price for them. I wait. So only exception would be like Monster Hunter Wilds, because it's multiplayer. You get to play with people, and any multiplayer I tend to be okay. But yeah, so I'll definitely interested. I'll probably put it on my back burner though. I'm definitely not going to get it at launch. But this whole woke stuff, a lot of people don't even know the true meaning of woke, and they just see a female lead or a certain orientation lead, and it's woke, but it's a lot of that's just ignorance and crap, and people just being keyboard warriors. But yeah, I don't care about that shit. It don't matter, because as long as it's a good game, good foundation, and good story, that's all I care about. But yeah, I'll definitely interested. It'll definitely go on my wish list. But like, you know how I am with the single player.
Yeah, dude. Wait. And
the only exceptions, of course, Nintendo, because guess what? They never go on sale.
Yeah, no worry.
Or if they do,
we're coming up,
10%, if that.
We're coming up to our Nintendo segment here.
Yeah.
Just to wrap up. So, like, I mean, that was that. So, because of that one trailer, I was like, okay, well, I'm excited for that.
Yeah. But like I said, I don't care about what they're doing as long as it's good. And two, change it up. I mean.
Yeah, and that's kind of why, Tim, like, that's kind of one of the reasons why I really like this approach, because it's like, it's fresh. So instead of it being the characters that stay the same, it's sort of like, you have similar gameplay, but they're like, she's a dual wielder instead of a single sword. Okay, that's probably going to play into the story, somehow. Because it takes place in the 1600s instead of the 1300s, there's rifles and stuff like that. So
that'd be kind of cool to see too, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know. Like, I was not at all disappointed. Like, I know some people are like, oh, I'm a little disappointed because I was hoping to see Jin return and whatever. But to me, I'm like, I actually kind of really like this. Like, I really like this approach of, well, let's try something else, you know? And so, anyway, so the only other thing that happened, Microsoft, I mean, I think it was like a day or 2 days later, Microsoft had their, you know, their Tokyo Game Show sort of panel conference, whatever. Some good stuff. I mean, Square Enix more and more is basically releasing on everything. Like we've talked about many times, they don't really have much of a choice. So the various Mana games are going on Game Pass, I think it was. Dragon Quest, they had like a little thing for Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D or 2D HD remake, whatever it's called, you know, like highlighting the pre-order and stuff like that, which is super cool. They even had like the new trailer to Metal Gear Solid, I think it's Delta. It's basically the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake, which is super cool. Like, you know,
remake again.
Yeah. But you
good to see Konami starting to by the way, Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D is on the Xbox or Microsoft Store pre-order now for $59.99.
Yeah,
but so it is on. Yep.
No, but we knew this.
Days.
Like this that wasn't a surprise to me because it was announced that it was coming to everything under the sun. But it's nice to see Microsoft do these kinds of things. I still like if this week, if we don't get any news, we're really going to, I think, do a deep dive on Microsoft. I really want to talk about this, and I want to talk about, like, have a whole podcast where we talk about the Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft strategy, because we've talked a little bit about it in podcasts, like, over the last couple of weeks, but I really want to do a deep dive on that because I stand by what I've been saying. I truly think we're going to have three completely different, like, things happening in the next like 5 years or so, and I think it's going to be really really interesting. Okay, Tim, you start us off. I've been doing too much talking. Start us off with the Nintendo stuff, but don't let me forget to talk a little bit about Echoes of Wisdom.
Oh, exactly. First things first, Nintendo's has talked about AI, and they're interested. They said it's true. The whole industry is kind of moving towards AI, and they're saying they're going to do something different. They're not really probably going to follow industry standards, which Nintendo, that's Nintendo, right? They love being different. I'd like to discuss on exactly what they're meaning by that. They mean, are they not going to use AI at all, or they're only going to utilize it as a tool, or probably, who knows with Nintendo? Because AI is technically a tool, but unfortunately, some developers could totally use it to create levels for themselves and totally random and totally artificially conceived, or whatever you call it. Like we talked about Power World, where they took the monster. They even admit, they said the AI designed it. I mean, they might have tweaked it, but the good thing for a developer is that saves cost because you don't have to hire people to design it, artists, so it saves you time. Unfortunately, then artists get hurt because they don't get hired, except we're not going to get into too much of the bad and negative about that. But AI is here to stay. It is a tool to help speed up development, which, like, Nintendo's already saying that development's going to take longer now. So if they're not going to use AI, I can understand that. What are your thoughts on what the great grandmaster himself said about AI? Typical Nintendo, they're always kind of, behind on the times, but they're very successful, so they obviously know what they're doing, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, guys, realistically, ever since GameCube, and let's be honest, screw that, ever since the N64, they have basically, what is that expression? Something to your own, like, what is it? Beat you to your own drum, or drum to your own beat, or something like that.
Something like that. You guys know what we're talking about. God, I can't believe we forgot.
Yeah, well, anyways, we're both getting old, man. So, people forget, but like, Nintendo kept cartridges, right? That was a decision they made, and they had their own reasons. They, like, whatever. And yes, it was state-of-the-art hardware, whatever. But the truth is, they did what they wanted to do, for better or worse. And I like to tell people that I think that has never changed with Nintendo. Yeah, they've had successes, and yes, they've had failures, and whatever. But realistically, I think they've truly always just done what they felt is best. I mean, let's be honest. It is 2024. Their online platform requires you to use a phone for voice chat. That's all I have to say, right?
Well, that could be a couple of reasons, though, and I think it's because I think Steven talked about that, is because they're kind of associated like Disney, meaning they're family-oriented, and they probably want to protect them. Because let's be honest, if you play any of these online games, you have a lot of toxicity, negative stuff. I'm not going to get into the details. They probably don't want you playing Mario Kart and some rapid teenage, not only teenagers, it's the grown adults saying N-words and calling you all these, other nasty things, which happens a lot. Anyone who plays online multiplayer games know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't think Nintendo really wants to deal with that.
Dude.
But 100%. They still have the option of it, though, which kind of contradicts.
No, like, okay, so exactly, like, realistically, right? Again, it just proves my point that they do what they feel is best. I'm not here to justify or whatever, right?
Exactly.
And I think what Miyamoto-san is saying is basically that. Is like, look, like, we're not going to follow the same trend everybody else is doing. We're going to do what we want to do. Does that mean that they're never going to use AI at all? Probably not. I mean, I would assume that they would use some AI to help with some of the open world games and stuff. Why? Because it just cuts your development time and costs in half. It's sort of like back in the day in our time, hand animation, or I forget what you call it, but like 2D animation, or I don't even know what you call it, but whatever, you know what I mean? That was very cheap. Very cheap. It was the standard, right? So everybody was doing it, type of thing. And then when 3D technologies originated, it was hella expensive. It was insane.
Oh, it was, yes.
And then what happened? It got, tech got stronger and stronger and better. And then the prices just skyrocketed down to the point where today, if you want to do a 2D hand-drawn animation movie, like Disney movie, that's going to cost you
more than it would. Yeah.
Exactly. And so it's the same thing with all of these things. Like, I mean, AI right now, where they get you is like, if you're using like OpenAI, you guys can't imagine how much that costs a month every time a user pings that, what that actually costs. Like, it's insane. But of course, like, look, right now for Elder Scrolls 95, I guarantee you all of the like the forest areas and all of that'll all be AI. And Diablo 1 was using procedurally generated like dungeons and stuff. And okay, it wasn't artificial intelligence per se, but it's not that far off, like, if you know what I mean. And so I do think you will see some stuff slowly but surely pop up, because why not, right? Like, if you set the parameters, but you could let AI make every bush slightly different for like your forest in, say, like
that saves a lot of time. Oh yeah,
exactly. So I mean, that's what I think. Personally, that's what I think with Miyamoto, and him too, man, guys. Like, he's really getting up there, man. Like, his time at Nintendo is not
his retirement. I would say this is his last system he's going to launch. Or be with the company, then he's gonna retire sooner or later. The guy's done his bit. He's basically the Hall of Fame.
Dude.
I mean, he's done amazing work. We cannot disagree. He's helped Nintendo's a huge success. But yeah, he's definitely. One of my friends thinking about the whole AI statement. It would make a coworker I used to work with years ago. It was back when N64 was coming out, and he told me that Nintendo will never be huge again, and at the time that was true. They weren't in terms of, he says, their dominance that they had in Super NES. Anyways, he said the problem with Nintendo, their leadership's a bunch of dudes who still thinks it's in the 90s and our good old arcade days. And there's some truth to that. So, I mean, again, Fruits Labors says different, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting when him and some of the older leadership kind of goes away.
But I think like with the company that I'm building right now, I mean, culture is important, and if you can instill...
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying that culture probably will stay for years.
I think so.
Right?
If they did their job right, like as good leaders, it shouldn't matter, but it depends. I don't know what Takashi Tezuka, Miyamoto, all those guys, like I don't know what their day to day is.
Yeah, how are they? I mean, how much influence did they have? Does he even really design games like he used to? Probably just kind of like a consultant at this point, right? He's probably
that's good, dude. That's really good, because it's like if you're able to transition some of these guys like away, and you still maintain that voice or that whatever, then you're good. And I think so. I think Nintendo is going to be okay, honestly. Like I think I'm actually really excited, and it's so funny because like I said, just this year there were a lot of different games on PlayStation that just appealed to me, right? Like the Final Fantasy VII remakes, Final Fantasy 16, all these, all this kind of stuff. And even Fallout 76, sure, it's got the crunchy is what I call the Fallout games. Like they're, but I played that on PC, and a good PC. So, I mean, it looks, fairly good, runs well, all that kind of stuff. Get Zelda.
Okay. Here we go.
And put Zelda on, and man... Yeah, we're due for
a new system.
For a new system. Like I could immediately feel it, like just in the, and like just in it, and I was like, yeah, okay, it's time. And I even did one of these things. I like touched the system, like, you did good, kid. I was like, you did good.
It's kind of funny because, like I told you, their whole retro scene's pretty big right now. So. Old pixel graphics are still very popular, but yeah, it's time. And unfortunately, Jared, when you get the new system, it's going to already feel like, oh, okay, well, geez, this is old, but at least it'll be better. It'll be sharper, smoother. I think the biggest thing is better texturing and smoother frame rates is the issue, because right now Switch is having a hard time with maintaining frame rates, and I think that's what most people want is consistent, at least 60 frames per second.
Yeah.
That's probably all you're going to get with the Nintendo system.
Dude, 100%, man. Like, that's what I mean, like, with the, like, it's time, you feel it. Yeah, I'm not talking about, like, lush 4K visuals. I don't care.
No, that's not going to happen.
And I don't care. I don't care about that. But you can feel it. Like, you can feel it. And so, because you never buy Nintendo games, like, you haven't played it yet, but it was, okay, so... I'm not gonna spoil, okay? Promise. I'm not gonna spoil anything. But you guys, well, I think I hope if you watch this show, that my two favorite series are Dragon Quest and Zelda. I have a tattoo of the Triforce on my back. Like I'm a huge...
Wow, you're a true fan.
Yeah. Hardcore Zelda fan. So, haven't played the Switch in a while, right? Like, it's been a little while. And so, put it on, and it's, it's the same graphical style as Link's Awakening remake that we had. You start off as Link, and this I'm not spoiling, it's been in every trailer, basically, there is. You fight Ganon, then you get sucked into, like, this rift, and then you're playing as Zelda. And so, the very first thing, as I control Zelda for the very first time, I'm like, why is she moving so slow? Okay, so that was the first. At first, I was like, I thought it was the Switch, to be honest. I was like, no way. But then I was like, no, I just played as Link, and it felt totally fine. So they've delayed her frames of animation just ever so slightly, compared to Link's. Now, we've seen the trailer, so we know there's a horse or whatever it is that you can ride on. Very much looking forward to finding that, just FYI. It's very creative. Like, it's super, super creative. Imagine taking Tears of the Kingdom, but instead of the building of stuff, you instead... Well, you know the concept, right? You can, like, basically clone or copy different physical items and basically make them reappear in other areas. So you can create, like, a bed and then put another bed on top and another bed on top of that. It makes, like, stairs, essentially, that you can hop up to get to different areas. Probably the single most impressive thing I've seen is its use of vertical space. First Zelda game that I've played with an overhead view that really does a superb job with verticality. So that's very rare to have in like Zelda games, especially these Zelda games. So that's awesome. The gameplay suffers from the exact same problem as Tears of the Kingdom. And that is... You played Tears of the Kingdom, right? Or
not? I haven't, but... No, not yet. I have it. It's on my backlog.
Okay, have you played Breath of the Wild?
Yeah.
Okay. So you know in Breath of the Wild, every time you would break a piece of gear, you had to go into the menu and select another piece of gear. Well, that's because that system was designed for the gamepad. It was not designed for the Switch. But because Wii U just, failed so epically, they had no choice but to release this. They delayed the game on purpose, and then they released it on the Switch as a launch title, which obviously has done phenomenally well. But if you go back to the original unveiling of that game, you'll see Miyamoto's using the gamepad, and he taps it to switch weapons on the fly. That is why that system exists the way it exists. But they removed that functionality from the Wii U version because they didn't want it to be better than the Switch version in terms of the feel of it.
That's so funny.
So the problem is they've had a fundamental gameplay problem from sort of inception or conception. And so they never fixed it. Like the Tears of the Kingdom, they use like this horizontal sort of system where you can sort of like press and hold a button and then select one of the pieces you want or something that you've previously created. There's no creation in here. You're just making copies of different items, but it's that same problem where you end up with like 120 of these damn things that you're constantly cycling between. And so that already, I'm only in the third dungeon, and already I'm like, okay, like, this is annoying, like constantly. They do offer different filters, so like you can filter the most commonly used or like the last used item you have, but it doesn't solve the problem, because in Tears of the Kingdom, you wouldn't use these pieces every 2 seconds. You would use them frequently, yes, but not every 2 seconds. And the problem with this game is you have to use them every 2 seconds because Zelda cannot attack. So
interesting.
You are constantly switching. So it's not just objects. You can also make copies of enemies and then get those enemies to attack for you.
Well, that's kind of cool.
It is like, and I hope this is not coming across as me like killing it, eh? Like, again, tattoo boy here. Like, I'm a fanboy of Zelda, but it just proves that having a sword is better.
It's just better.
Yeah. It's like the gameplay for now. I'm in the third dungeon. So for now, unless, there's like a curveball and something changes, like the horse, for example. Ahmed was the one who reminded me that there's a horse. And I was like, oh yeah, you're right. Once I get the horse, then okay, then all good, right? Like, then I'm not going to complain about the speed because who cares? Just get on the horse and away you go. But the thing is, this is an issue. Like, for me, this is an issue because everything is so slow because you can't just go up and like punch someone in the face for justice.
Interesting.
You
I
have
wonder why they did that.
Well, it's unique, and don't get me wrong.
Okay.
Like it is fun. Like it is fun. I'm having
But
a blast.
you prefer.
Well, it's not even a question of preference, really. I think it's more just like it's a little too slow, but I don't know how they would have like sped it up because you have all the freedom you had in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and I love it. I love it. That is my favorite part, is that every time I come to a puzzle or every time there's a boss, I have to think of like, like my solution will be totally different than yours. And I love that. That is my absolute favorite thing. I spent all morning going around looking for like heart pieces and stuff. And I mean, it is a Zelda game. It feels like a Zelda game. It plays like a Zelda game. It's just it has two big flaws. One is that navigating the items constantly every 2 seconds, having to that really is starting to grate on my nerves a bit. And the other is I find it just a tad too slow. And then there's a spoiler thing that I won't talk about. But if you ever play the game, I'm waiting. Like Cranberry just got it today, so she's playing it today.
Oh, you know Cranberry's gonna love it.
Ahmed got it. I'm waiting for him to play it. Steven too. I'm waiting for him because like there's one thing I can't talk about without spoilers, but it kind of proves exactly what I'm saying, and so I want to see if anyone else feels this way. But so far, like, amazing game. If you have a Switch, go check it out. Like, seriously, like, if I had to review this right now, it'd probably be like an 8, something like that.
Nice.
Like, really good. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm really, really enjoying it. It's just those two things are... Yeah, they're a little... Like, what is going to happen when I have, like... Seriously, when I have like 100 of these items and I have to cycle through. I'm
surprised they don't allow you to drop them or get rid of them. It kind of doesn't make sense.
Well, I just wish you could sort of highlight and just say like, okay, put this on my constant. Instead, it's like, you know, last used. Then it's like you can sort by type, and then you can sort by like when you got it, I think it was something like that, something like that. So the closest one for me is like the ones you use the most, right? Like the last one you use type of thing. But the problem with that is if you do that, if you keep your bar with that, then you're not really going to be creative because you're always going to be using the same, you know, the same ones. And that's kind of, and I don't have a solution, just for everyone listening, I don't have a solution to this. It's because this problem originated with a system that had 2 screens. So how do you fix this with one screen? And I know when we got Tears of the Kingdom, that was the first thing I looked at. I was like, okay, I'm watching you. How are you gonna fix this? And they did a better job with like the inventory management, but it's so clear. Like, if this next Switch truly does have 2 screens, you're going to see all of these remade. All of them will be remastered for that platform with the second screen to Switch. And that would be so much better.
Oh, yeah, it would be. Yeah, but once to buy the games again, because they'll be too soon, right?
That's the problem.
It would be kind of nice to see. I can't wait for the next open world Zelda on the more powerful system with better frame rates, better everything, better visuals. I mean, Nintendo always does a great job. I mean, look at how good some of their like Mario games still look amazing for what.
Dude, this looks amazing. This looks outstanding. That like not claymation, but that kind of puppety.
Yeah, so they definitely. It's kind of weird that how a lot of third parties just never can come close to how they optimize. That's probably because the problem is third party, so they have to make these games and engines on all platforms. So they're not going to optimize it for the Switch. If anything, they barely can make it run, right? I mean, it's amazing Witcher 3 runs on the Switch. Is good.
Yeah, like Doom, and some of them are incredible.
Yeah. So it's, you know, got to give props to some of those developers who take the extra time because, you know, it's easier just to port it over and just, who cares? You know, but yeah. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Oh, and today is the 26th birthday of Pokemon Red and Blue. Shit,
Really?
Jared, we're getting old, man. You remember that? We were back in the day when we were playing that on launch. That was the reason why
Pokemon, I was not playing at launch. I assure you. No, because of the date. Look at the date.
Oh.
Dude, that was the era of Resident Evil. So
yes, it was.
All you guys,
right.
your little kids, were off playing Pokemon. This guy was playing Resident Evil, Tomb Raider, all that stuff. And that was for me, that was the beginning of the change, if you will, in the landscape. But like, I only got into Pokemon because of Steven. What, like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, something like that?
Oh, really? I always assumed you were
no, not at all. Not at all. No, I only got into it fairly recent. Oh my gosh, I just look at the time. We got to wrap up, dude.
Oh, yeah. Thinking of Pokemon, I just booted up Violet and started trying to fix it. I'm almost done with the story. And then, yeah, you're right. First thing I do when I see the visuals, I'm like, oh, shit, yeah, this again. Yeah, the visuals are so subpar, but then you get used to it. But yeah, because, you know, I'm a PC guy, so going from the PC visual, I'm like, oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Well, you know, Pokemon, that Violet and that were subpar to even Switch's standards, right? Yeah. So, yeah. Anyways, it's a good game. I am definitely looking forward to what the next system will bring for Pokemon, but hopefully they're going to take what they've learned and hopefully innovate it a little bit more, but we'll see.
Yeah. All right, guys. So listen, we'll catch you next week, and there's no shortage of topics, so we'll see what happens.
No, there's and plus it's the fall time, so all the big hitters are coming out soon. I mean, there'll be a shit ton of good stuff. Yeah, can't wait. And then what is the release date for the Dragon Quest? Next month. I know, November 13th.
Yeah.
We'll definitely be talking about that. Of course, that's still a while away before we'll be talking about
right now I'm all Zelda. That's my...
oh, yeah, next week, tell us a little bit of progress on how you feel about it.
All right, guys.
Finish it by then.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Yeah.